Right, evening. First thing, apologies for this being late. Bloody cat just stood on it. Mrs. Meep. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do the video in normal time due to a couple of things that went on today. And one of those being having to take Buster Boo to the vets. And those that don't know, Buster is the one that accompanies us with the snoring in the videos. You may be able to hear him, he's actually laid downstairs snoring tonight because he can't get up the steps because he's torn his cruciate ligament. Poor bugger. Anyway, unfortunately before he came to us he was not well exercised and very overweight, and that's taking its toll. Anyway, training. And I said that this week we would do delts. So we will. Now, 3 muscles: anterior, medial, posterior. Front, middle, rear. Quite simple. Anterior raises your arm to the front, medial raises your arm to there, rear retracts it to the back. Difficulties: anterior and medial isolation isn't that difficult to do. Rear isolation is. People will tend to retract the scapula, start to use the back, the trap, and the trap does become quite involved in shoulder work. So, I'm going to go through some basic pointers, and then we'll look at some particular exercises and how they can work and aid. Now, one thing I would say is on isolation movements, focus on form and feel. On pressing movements, load the bar heavy. But do remember, as always, full range. The shoulder is a very complex area, and rotator cuff injuries are very, very common. Spinatus strains are very, very common as well. So make sure you're warmed up and make sure you do engage in a very good stretching program. Don't stretch before you train shoulders, stretch after or on a day that you're not training them. Now, dumbbell press, overhead press, front press, behind the neck press are all good exercises. There's nothing wrong with behind the neck press. The problem is that 95% of people that do behind the neck press do it incorrectly. What people tend to do is they come down and they do that. Now when you do that and you lean or you fall forward, you lower your chest, you rotate the shoulder joint. Now the hand is pinned, so as you move forward you're rotating your shoulder like that, but then you're forcing your hand back, and what you end up doing is going against the natural movement of the shoulder, which is why you get injuries. So you ensure that your shoulder blades are pinned back, and when you get to the bottom of the movement you can touch the base of your neck when you're not rounding forward. It doesn't matter if your head dips a little bit like that, as long as the chest remains lifted. That's the key point. The chest must remain lifted, the bar comes down to the base of the neck, back up again. Now, pressing movements obviously bring into play all other aspects. You know, you go behind the neck, you're going to start bringing into play your back, your traps, your tries. You go front press, you're going to bring into your upper chest, your tries, and to a degree your back as well. So it's a big, heavy compound, and I wouldn't be scared of going very, very heavy. But do go to the greatest range that you can within your flexibility. It's okay doing, say, a press from the top of the head when you're trying to break into a new weight, you know, and then slowly bringing it down. But if you're starting to find the majority of your presses are only coming down to here or only coming down to here, you're missing a lot of range. You know, you really need to go full range with these things. The greater the range, the greater the fiber recruitment. It's as simple as that. Now, I personally don't train anterior and or front delt. I find, because the way my biomechanics work, I hit it quite a lot when I do chest present movement, and a lot of that's because obviously this left pec is completely torn off and this right pec has partial tears as well, so I recruit my shoulders quite a bit when I do front press, so any sort of chest press. So I wouldn't be one that would heavily focus on anterior work, and I'd be more inclined to sort of leave it alone from an isolation point of view. By all means, a front press or any overhead press, dumbbell press, fine, but I wouldn't be overly mad on front delts as isolation, excuse me. It's very quickly easy to overdevelop them, and you'll start to round, and then you'll start causing all sorts of muscular imbalances all over. Medial delt, great. Lateral raises is the main thing for isolation on here. A lot of people do lateral raises wrong. First thing, I'd go from the side. So the dumbbell sits on the side, raise up, and back down again. If your arm position is, so as you come with your arms like this, then what's happening is the load's here. So the pivot point's no longer here. The pivot point becomes here. And that's the moment the weight is loading on. So that's rotating your shoulder. It's not going to fully activate the medial delt. So when you come from the side, never let your hand come further than your chest. So keep your hand back. That will ensure medial delt activation. And the other thing is, that is not going to fully contract the shoulder. So it's up, and the palm needs to stay parallel to the floor at least. You don't need to tip that. That rotation of the wrist does not change the load on the shoulder. The rotation of this does. Your medial delt lifts your upper arm. It doesn't do anything with any of this. So as you get to this point, if you rotate to lift your elbow, you're going to further contract your medial delt. So if you go up, slight rotation, and you'll super contract. You'll put more and more load on that medial delt. Try it without a weight. Now, so you go out to the side, slight bend in the elbow to release some tension on here. What you'll find if you do it straight, you'll start to get issues with tendonitis running through your forearm into here. So slight bend, up, and lift. Don't need to twist, but lift the elbow. Lift the elbow. See how that lifts? Try it without weight, and you'll see how that medial delt contracts so much more. And that's it. Keep it light, focus on feel and form. There's nothing wrong with going heavy on lateral raises, but if you're starting to give it the old heave-ho, come on, you're not moving the weight. And if your hands start coming forward, anterior delt's moving the weight. It needs to be out. The further that hand is away from your body, the longer the lever, the more the perceived load on the medial delt from the weight within your hand. Simple. Rear delt. This is one that people screw up a lot. Ensure the chest is lifted as always. Don't be rounding forward. And what a lot of people do is that. So in the movement, they pull the whole shoulder blade, everything back. Now that will to a degree hit the medial delt. But what you're actually trying to do is just move the delt. So you see the difference? See, that's my rear delt flexing. That's my rear delt pulling my arm back. That's my back pulling my arm back. It's a very small muscle, is rear delt. It's hit a lot in back movement, and as a result, it soon gets worked. Most people train rear delts way too heavy, and as a result of that, they start loading the back. So what I would recommend is that you focus on the form and the feel. If you struggle with rear delts, train them first in a workout. Use it as part of your warm-up. Do rear delts first. Nothing wrong with doing isolations before pressing. In fact, it works very, very well. Now, I'm a great believer in behind the neck pressing because it does more compound for your medial. I tend not to do a lot of front pressing, but that's personal choice. If you want to front press. But make sure that your core is upright, your chest is lifted, and make sure that you are upright. If your arse is sliding forward on the bench like this, then all you're doing is a high incline press. The more your arse slides forward, the more you're going to recruit your front delts and your chest. So you need to be upright. Now, if you find that's a difficult position to sit in with weight, then it's probably because your shoulder health is not very good and your flexibility and rotation of your shoulder joint is not very good. Then work on it. Don't make that as an excuse and do an exercise incorrectly. Fix the problem so you can do the exercise correctly. Okay. Again, with all these exercises, if you're struggling to get it right, slow down. Use the mirrors. It will give you time to alter and manipulate the movement. There are a million different ways to do lateral raises. You can do them single armed, you can do them kneeling on a bench going out to the side. It doesn't matter. The point is that you make sure you feel it where you need to feel it. Take time with the warm-ups. Introduce the muscle to the exercise. Once you get feel, then you can start loading with weight. And my strongest, no, bear in mind this is a while ago, I've been up as heavy as 80, 85 pound dumbbells for side lateral raises in straight control form. 65s were common as anything. I'm nowhere near those weights these days, but you know, it is possible to go heavy in these movements in good form if you stick at it and you push and you focus. I'm going to not touch on traps. I'm going to put traps in with back, because even though the upper trap does tie into the shoulders and everything else, there's obviously a lot of mass lower down. Now, with shoulder pain can be obviously your shoulders. It can also be your pec attachment points. It can be your bicep attachment point. That's quite common. Long head of the bicep attachment under the front delt quite commonly cause tension and pain in that front delt region. And it's got nothing to do with the shoulder. It's actually the bicep. Do use a comprehensive stretching program for shoulders. It is a very vulnerable joint. It is a multifaceted joint, and it does need looking after. But if you're going to do this sort of stuff with weight, don't be picking up 5 kilos and stupid shit like that. Light. Only light. You do any more, you're not going to work the rotator cuff. You're going to work the muscles surrounding it, above it. So if you want to work the correct area, keep the weight light, keep the movement controlled. Okay? No point loading up with 15 key dumbbells and trying to signal a plane to land. It ain't going to fucking work. The shoulder needs to be tread with some delicacy, particularly in any isolation form. Okay, you go beyond that and you're going to start working surrounding muscles, and you're just going to develop imbalances and problems. Take care of your shoulders. They're the one area that people do generally suffer with a lot of injuries from. And like I said, when you press heavy. Don't be scared to load the bar, but ensure that you're always working towards full range. Even if you use partial reps or cheat reps in order to break into a new weight load, that's fine, but do make sure you use for the personal at full range and work on that flexibility. If you haven't got flexibility, if you can't get your hands behind your back in a full Nelson or behind your head, or get a bar to touch the base of your neck, then you need to work on flexibility. Right. Other exercise for shoulders that you may encounter. Upright rows. Personally, I find these difficult. I tend to find they hurt my wrists quite a lot. If that's the case, don't do the exercise. It is a good exercise, but quite often it's done incorrectly. Elbows need to go high. It's the point again, is that any deltoid movement is moving this upper arm. So basically what an upright row is a strange version of a lateral raise, hence the movement. We'll try to activate some trap activation as well, because the traps are going to pull the scapulars back and they're going to contract at the same time. Like I said, Arnold presses and all this crap. I'm not a fan of a movement that changes the load throughout the range from which muscles it works. So I prefer barbell pressing or straight dumbbell pressing. But if you like them, that's up to you. Like I said in the very first video, part of this is enjoying it. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. You're not going to stick at it, and it becomes a pointless exercise. Little tip as well when you're shoulder pressing. When you get to the top of the movement, roll. Obviously your hands are fixed, but if you can sort of roll your shoulders in, you will actually over-contract, or you will increase the contraction within the delts. Great way if you're struggling to feel presses to start to get the delts to activate when you press. It will drastically reduce your strength and your number of reps you can do initially, but you will find that you get better connection in the pressing movement if you are struggling to feel. And on the negative portion of the movement, completely relax the grip and let the arm and just focus on the shoulders lowering it down. Don't focus on lowering the weight. Relax the grip and let the shoulders bring it down. Think about the movement. Think about how the muscle works. Envisage it in your brain, either while you're doing the exercise or before or after, however you want to, but visualize the movement. Simplify it. You know, it's a pivot, it's a bone, 3 muscles attached, one top, one back, one side. If I want to move it this way, it's this one, this way, this one, this way, that one. And just visualize that movement. And then when you've got that in your head, you'll find that you get a lot greater response. But like I said, with lateral raises, dumbbells should not come in front of your chest line. Palm needs to be flat to the ground. And the point is that you're trying to lift your elbow as high as possible, not your hand. So if you're here, there's no difference between that point and that point, because the upper arm, in fact, if anything, the upper arm drops a little bit when you bring your hand high. So as you come up, it's your upper arm that you're trying to lift higher. Okay, that's it for shoulders. I hope you found it useful. Once again, I apologise for the lateness of the video, but we've been sorting out bully dogs. And next week, I think we'll hit chest. Okay, so take care. Speak to you soon.